Hello everybody, welcome back. Let me just check the sound's working. Yeah, it is. Sometimes it doesn't work. Right, let's have a look at some of these coins then, shall we? Let's be a bit quick about it as well. So let's have a quick sip of tea before I begin. Hang on a second. Sorry about that, I'm not known for my professionalism. Right, so daily chart and Bitcoin. So in the night, last night, or should I say very early in the morning, we came all the way down in a split second to test the 242, which I know some people have been asking what I'm talking about. That's the 242 basic moving average. The reason I look at that is because in the history of Bitcoin it's never gone beneath that ever before, until this year, and obviously it's been below there before, but I mean in a bull market. Bear market it's always under, bull market it's never under until now, and we went under there and we've just sort of crashed up above there. So it's a bit of it's a decent moving average to have for Bitcoin, and getting back above there is bullish. Getting down below there is bad, because again this is it's broke something that's never done before. And I'm not one of those people that looks at Bitcoin and go, "Oh, it's never done it before. Oh, it can never happen," or I put too much weight on it, because at the end of the day, Bitcoin's only just over 10 years old. It's not really much of an asset to really go by. And it's a long period of time, but it's really just a blip in the ocean when you sort of trade in stocks, shares, commodities, and all the sort of things that I'm used to trading previously. So a 10-year-old chart's nothing, but anyway, it's never done that before until sort of later on last year, and it crashed down beneath here for the first time, and then shot right back up as a bit of a reaction to that. And then when we finally sort of broke down beneath it again for the second time, it was pretty nasty, and we stayed down there for a couple of months. In fact, we stayed down there for quite a few months, because we've only just recently burst above, and we came down to test it here. So in that area, and it's got a bit of a positive slope on it ever so slightly now, so this area is the area to hold. And it also ties in with the 9,150 ish area of support, which I've labelled out beforehand, which is where we were bouncing around on this level here. All these wicks and bits and bobs, and also these guys here. This is where we bounced from, these two wicks and this third one here. So 9,150 should be our bottom level of support. Now we tested that obviously overnight or early in the morning. Are we going to come down to test it again in the week? So at the moment everything's very bullish. We've got golden cross, we're above the 242, we're clearly above all major moving averages, so right now it is looking pretty bullish. But are we going to be pulled back down just for one last time, give people the opportunity to buy, maybe stop out some over leveraged longs, blah blah blah, you know the drill with Bitcoin, it likes to do that kind of thing. I think we probably are. I think we probably will come down, maybe not to this exact level here, but maybe down to this grey guy here, which is the 9. That's the 9 EMA. We could come down to test that, which should only be 9,200 or so. Either way, I think the way that we're looking at this now is where the RSI is still quite high. It still should realistically come back down a little further in order for us to get that final push to break above these guys here, 9,650 or so. That at that point would be, that's going to be turbo bull at that point. But we're not there yet, so I expect to get stopped out. If you're going too hard on your leverage, I would suggest, tight stop. Well, it depends how you want to play it. Personally, I'm not a financial advisor, so it's not financial advice. The way I like to play these trades is patience, wait for something like this to happen, set an alarm at areas of interest, so perhaps set an alarm for something along the lines of 9,250, see how that price action is playing out, see what's going on, see what the RSI looks like on the shorter time frames, like 5 minute, hourly, 4 hourly, all those sort of things, all that kind of jazz. But basically go in not too heavy, 5x max. And if you're looking to get a position in a technically a good level like how this was, then feel free to have a relatively tight stop loss. So my plan would be to get in at, if I could possibly get in at 9,150, I'd have a stop loss. And again, this would be a 5x leverage, which is pretty high. I would have a stop loss at maybe around 8,950, and I know that sets me up to lose quite a lot, but it gives me that opportunity to a bit of breathing room. And it's only a 5x, so it's not like I'm going to lose my entire margin account. But anyway, that would be my plan. I've rabbited on about Bitcoin too much, so you get the idea. I do expect it to be dragged back down into here before we lift off, and even if we do lift off, I can't see us making giant highs without a bit of a pullback. But at the same token, I do feel as though a lot of interest is in this now. We've got golden crosses, we've got above the 242, and look what happened last year when Bitcoin started to get excited. And our first big pump here, overindulged on the RSI, had to come back down. Came back down significantly, really. Second time, and this is the one that most people remember, we came right outside of the RSI, huge, massively, way out, way out, and came back down with not so much of a giant pullback, but a big pullback none the same. And then, you know, you get the idea. So RSI likes to be violated with Bitcoin. So as much as I'm saying it can't go any further because the RSI is not, you know, it hasn't got too far to ride before it gets pulled back under. We are talking about Bitcoin here. So that said, you know, if this doesn't get pulled into the, let's just say, 9,200 areas of interest where we're looking to buy at, I wouldn't want to go FOMOing into it until it reaches a peak and pulls back, and then we'll see what happens as a result of that. But at the moment, everything's bullish, so I would expect next week to be pretty bullish, to be honest with you. Let's have a look at some of these other coins then. So Ethereum, my biggest holding, has now broken bullish and is now being rejected at roughly on the 242, thereabouts. We're way overextended on the Bollinger Band. RSI is peaking up. It's actually harder than Bitcoin. So we're looking for the same kind of deal with this one, to be honest with you. No golden crosses as yet. So this is, you know, as far as the next couple of months is concerned, it's got a long way to go. It's got a lot more gains to be had. I really do feel as though when we're looking at this chart here, we will be really just completely annihilating the state of last year's all-time highs, and that would be last year's all-time highs. I personally do feel as though we're likely to be seeing highs such as 360 or more in the next 3 months or so. I know that sounds ridiculous, but I would expect to see that. I know that's completely bonkers and bananas, but that's what I'm kind of expecting. And again, I'm not a financial advisor, so it's not financial advice. Yes, I am holding lots of Ethereum, and it's my biggest holding. In fact, it's almost exclusively my only holding. And for those who join my Telegram chat, you know mainly the reasons why. But the chart basically looks like it's only just getting started, and it's got plenty of room to move. There will be pumps and there will be dumps, but overall, in the next 3 months, I would expect it to be way up here. So essentially, you know, close to pretty much doubling in its value in about 3 months. That's my expectation. We're looking at the Ethereum Bitcoin chart, and it's just completely crushed Bitcoin. Completely, just crushed it completely. I don't expect this to be the case completely throughout all of you know, the rest of the year. Bitcoin's dominance will be sort of coming back to fruition. I mean, let's look at this chart in general. It's a very bearish looking chart when you look at it from where it was once before, but it doesn't mean that we can't come back and sort of maybe not get highs such as this again, but make significant gains, I guess, on the tether pairing. At the moment, it's definitely very strong. Binance Coin, I said, is a bit of a slow burner, a bit of a delayed fuse on that one, and that fuse is just getting lit, I suppose, at the moment. It looks like we're going to get a nice close today above the 200 EMA, which is what we want. This is a pretty bullish candle with a nice wick beneath it and no wick on the top. It's continuing to move, so I would expect this one to actually be pretty bullish in the coming weeks. Satoshi pair is not great, obviously, so it's pretty bad. Doesn't mean anything to me though, because I do feel as though we will be coming up to test and meet and hold above the $20 value, probably in a couple of weeks. Within a couple of weeks, I'd say. XRP, even XRP has made some decent moves. We're looking at XRP on Bitcoin pairing, and kind of a bit more of an easier chart to trade, really, because you can trade more or less within Bollinger Band areas. See, we're getting rejected from the top of this Bollinger Band here. I would expect to see support at the bottom of the band here. And let's have a look at it on the tether pairing, see what that says. So we've broken above it on the tether pairing, being rejected. We overextended, but I think this is what you get with XRP. A lot of people love XRP. They have an emotional attachment to XRP. So when they see something like this, they just go bonkers and just throw all their money in. It's massively FOMO'd every time there's a run. A lot of people lose out on their money here. But that said, our first attempt to get towards the 200 EMA there, for the first time for a long time now, always get rejected from it though. As you can see from back here, rejected, all these times rejected. So again, we've not touched this in a long time now. So obviously when you do get towards it, you're going to get rejected from it. That's what happened here. We're also above the Bollinger Band. We should be brought back within that area now. So coming back to I'd say at least 25% flat. But that's a good target met. I do trade XRP, so I've sold this now. Just going to wait for it to be brought back in, wind its a little neck in, and see where we go from there. Looking at the RSI, we're coming quite close to the top, and I do feel as though XRP likes to respect the RSI much more than Bitcoin does. So I don't see this going completely bonkers and bananas as yet. We're going to have to pull back, and probably going to have a few sideways and slow days, and maybe even retracements. How XRP is. Let's have a look at Icon then, shall we? So a coin that I've never looked at until recently. Someone told me to look at it. So we're looking at it here with the tether pairing. I cannot remember exactly what I said when I made this video last time, but given the state of it right now, it's gonna have to pull back. It's really gonna have to pull back unless somebody wants to create a brand new chart to accommodate overextended RSIs like this and MACDs like this. I mean, they're so big that they cannot possibly go much further. So we're pulling back at this level here. I would have probably said, looking at this now, that this would have been the area to break, pretty much where the wick was here, and the wick being the same point as these these support levels here, and here. So that wick from yesterday was taken out completely, and now it looks as though FOMO has really set in. However, I have to say there's still... I do remember what I was going to say on this one. Yeah, of course. Yeah, the golden cross is being forced into position, and we were waiting for a pullback. So probably, if people watched my video, you might have not just waited, because I think that's probably what I was looking to do. Wait to see if it gets pulled back into the into a lower level. So again, this is why I'm definitely not a financial advisor, because I cannot give sound financial advice, especially when a chart looks like this. But that golden cross definitely looks like it wants to happen. But what I would say is that this is so extended at the moment. This will happen. This golden cross is absolutely going to happen. But for what it's worth, I cannot anticipate what the rest of the move will be, because a chart like this, I don't know what happened here. Must have been some news, must have been some kind of announcement or some development in the technology. because I really don't see how this chart going all the way down like this suddenly creates a pump like this. And so when things like that do happen, technical analysis is not irrelevant, but it's you don't have your edge, because it's not being traded on the chart itself, it's being traded on something else, which is perfectly good for people to trade on. If people keep their ear to the ground and do their homework and research, I've got a lot of people like that on my Telegram group, and they do very, very well. It's not the way I trade things though, but it's clearly very lucrative for the people who do. You just got to have the time to do that kind of thing, and hats off to those people who do, because you can really cash in. So some people must have known some things that I didn't know, and I mean, I'd never even heard of the coin before. But if I stared at this chart and looked at this chart, I wouldn't never have said that this would have happened. There's nothing here to say that would have happened. A small amount of accumulation here, but by the time that I would have called that accumulation, the pump had already begun. So yeah, something else happened here clearly, and it's not something that I could possibly trade on. Speaking of that, actually, there's one other coin that I'd like to look at, which is Matic, and we'll just get both these pairs out now, because I had a brief look at this earlier on my phone, obviously, because I'm a busy guy these days, and we are looking to enter this dark cloud here on the sats we are, but I think we should be already in it. Yeah, we're already in it when it comes to the tether pairing. Now the the main thing for us to do at this level here is break 2 cent. We've not touched it yet. We came quite close today. 2 cent is the area of resistance, and hopefully at that point of breaking that resistance it will be support. And it's only then when I'd start to make my mind up about Bitcoin, about Matic, if it's something I want to get my money involved in. I do have a sizable portion of Ethereum that I'd be quite happy to sell for something like Matic, given that Matic has always been very generous to me. I think that we're probably going to find rejection at 2 cent, but if we break above it, I'm not going to FOMO in. I will wait for it to come back down and test the 2 cent, and I need to see it test a couple of times. The next area of resistance should be the 2.7 cent area, and to be honest with you, if breaking above 2 cent happens and holding above 2 cent happens, we'll judge it on its individual merit. We'll see how it goes, how all of this kind of stuff looks, and the volume and all the bits of Matic, but we have to be very careful with it because we know that it's partial to a good sizable dump. It's also had most of its life has been on a downtrend, so you've got to bear all of that in mind. But looking at this, we have a period of accumulation into the bullish territory, which is where we are now. So we just need to see how it reacts to 2 cent before we get excited. It does look quite good, I should say. It does look quite good, and the market's picking up. So there's no reason why this can't pick up with it, because it used to trade, and it still kind of does do its own thing. But now that it's a bit more recognised as a coin, and people trade it a lot more regularly than they used to, and its market cap has increased. I feel as though you could class it as one of the major alts, not obviously one of the top 10 clearly, but it's a lot of people. Everybody kind of knows it now, and they know what it does, and they know what it likes, and they probably watch my videos. So I think everybody knows that 2 cent is a pivotal moment for Matic. So you see, we get rejected here, we get rejected there. Just recently, that's what happened. But we were rejected several times from here. Big breakdown from there. Where are we? It's back here. Was support for us for quite a long time before we broke down. So it wants to, and it needs to get above 2 cent for me to get excited. And all those people who might be thinking, well, if I buy now, it's more money. Yeah, you might get rejected here, and that's the problem. You don't know how it's going to react to 2 cent. It's been quite aggressive and quite violent in the past. We're rejecting from 2 cent. We don't want to see you lose 25, 35, 50, 65% of your investment there. So we just want to see how it plays out. At the moment, the rest of pretty much the majority of the market, especially the top cap coins, like Ethereum, like I say, that I'm holding on to, are doing pretty well for themselves anyway. So, you even throwing your money into Bitcoin, you're going to do okay. So if the market picks up, and it looks like it's about to do something pretty impressive, because if Bitcoin can break above and stay above 9,650, then the market will be up on its way to making very, very big, very aggressive, and very tasty moves to the up. So everything will trend with that. You just got to be on the right side of those trends, and Matic sometimes likes to trend in the opposite way to Bitcoin. So just bear all that in mind, especially if Bitcoin dominance picks up. Bitcoin dominance starts to raise, which is quite low at the moment, hence the move in all the alts. It's they go hand in hand. Bitcoin dominance is down, alts go up, obviously. But if Bitcoin dominance starts to go up, then we will start to see that Bitcoin will again take the lead and be making the biggest gains. At the moment, it's not making the biggest gains, but believe me, it could do, and it probably will do at some point, probably sooner rather than later. So we'll just see how it all plays out. But yeah, it's all looking quite good. Next week should be a very big week for the entire market as a whole, and probably I would expect to see alts do very well next week. And then in the coming weeks after that, Bitcoin to kind of take the lead a little bit more. Anyway, thanks for watching. I hope you have a nice evening. Hope you had a good weekend, and take it easy.